Miss Peru contestants list violence against women statistics instead of their bra size. And this is from an article from luk.com. And this is an article that's been this is from a few days ago. This has been covered all over the world, frankly. So it's not unique to them, but I'll just skip down a little bit. Miss Peru contestants have used the competition to highlight the plight of women and girls in their country, where gender-based violence goes largely unpunished. Well, I don't know about that, but gender-based violence, I've been arguing for, on and off for about 25 years now that domestic violence at adult level has nothing to do with gender whatsoever anyway. It's not that it isn't a gender issue. Feminists have turned it into one, so have the mainstream media and politicians. And as far as child abuse is concerned, I'm sure most of you already know that most child abuse, as I'm going to show you in a moment, is committed by women. And how these publications don't know that, I have no idea. This is LUK, what's that? It's a women's magazine. Okay, I wouldn't credit them necessarily with knowing the facts. Maybe they haven't looked into them. But the national newspapers throughout the Western world and newspapers have no excuse. They know the truth. They just don't want to talk about it. So I'm going to switch, as that's just one article of many you can find online on this particular subject of these Peruvian women talking about gender violence against women and girls, as they put it. I'm going to skip straight to an article from the Washington Post from 2014 that I dug out today, and there's a very specific reason for that, because after I've dealt with a little bit of that, I'm going to give you some real statistics on child abuse from the United States from the same year, 2014. So let's have a look at this Washington Post article. And I'll leave all the relevant links in the comments section. I'll pin them to the top. So this headline's from 2014, June. One way to end violence against women. See, no mention of violence against men. And the answer apparently is married dads. Well, there is actually some truth in that. The data shows that, yes, all women, that's a hashtag, will be safer with fewer boyfriends around their kids. And this is, you see they're getting at men already, by W. Bradford Wilcox and Robin Fred Wilson. Now, you can attack people by using facts, and they are actually going to use facts here. But facts with omission. So, in other words, propaganda, in this case, anti-male propaganda from the Washington Post. The dramatic social media response to the UC Santa Barbara shooting, captured by the hashtag #YesAllWomen, underlined an important and unpleasant truth. Across the United States, millions of girls and women have been abused, assaulted, or raped by men, and even more females fear that they will be subject to such an attack. Well, that's absolutely true. I can't deny that whatsoever. But most of the reason that women are so terrified, because rape is actually still a very rare crime. Most of the reason that women are so terrified of this is because of the literally non-stop propaganda from the mainstream media that's been going on since the 1970s when it comes to domestic violence at adult level. Now, a couple of little interesting notes on rape. It's been widely reported in the past, including by the Daily Mail, that there are more men raped in US prisons by other men than there are women raped by men on the outside of prisons. And what's not well known is that in women's prisons, women are more than 4.2 times more likely actually, to be sexually molested by other women. Now, if you provided these sexual molesting women in women's prisons with strap-ons, they'd rape them. So if you look at it from that point of view, women are far more likely to actually rape other women than men are. That's a fact. Anyway, the article continues. This social media outpouring makes it clear that some men pose a real threat to the physical and psychic welfare of women and girls. Yeah, but when it comes to violence against girls of a physical nature, women are far more likely to abuse them than men, as I'm going to show you with some official statistics in a moment. And the same with boys as well. They're leaving. You see how they're leaving out men and boys here almost completely. But obscured in the public conversation about the violence against women is the fact that some other men are more likely to protect women. No, the massive overwhelming majority of men are programmed to protect women. Anyway, says, the bottom line is this: married women are notably safer than their unmarried peers, and girls raised in a home with their married father are markedly less likely to be abused or assaulted than children living without their own father. Yes, but they're still far more likely to be abused by women, as I'm going to prove. Now, the Washington Post isn't lying, but I'm going to give you a few stats from 2014, the same year that their article was published. And these figures come from page 46. I'll leave a link to this in the comment section at the top. And this is a document, Child Maltreatment 2014, and this was published by the Department for Health and Human Services. And on page 46 you have a table that has the perpetrator of child abuse. The father weighs in at 20.5%. The mother weighs in at 40.7%. And I've seen this in Scottish social service figures in the past, 2002 to 2003, where the natural mother outweighed every other category of child abuser put together. She was 51% out of 7 different categories. I wrote to every single member of the Scottish Parliament about that, sent them a table of the figures, didn't get a single reply. Now, they're not obliged to reply to me as I'm not their constituent. I live in another country, but I didn't even receive a courtesy reply. Absolutely bloody disgraceful. Anyway, father and non-parents, 1.1%. Mother and non-parents, 6.9%. The mother in those households is still the boss. She is in charge. She can discharge that boyfriend from that relationship whenever she feels like. Unlike the father, the woman has far more power, of course. So in those relationships, I'm still going to hold the mother largely responsible for this. Anyway, back to this New York Times article. I'm going to repeat what I said before from this. Did I say New York Times? Washington Post, I meant. This social media outpouring makes it clear that some men pose a real threat to the physical and psychic welfare of women and girls. Yeah, okay, that's perfectly true, but you know, this is the way that the mainstream media create fear amongst women and girls, by demonizing men, by leaving out the true facts, and they should point out the fact that the overwhelming majority of men and women do not abuse each other or children. And the Washington Post has they have a little table here, figures. I'm going to turn the computer sideways so I can number of children per thousand, blah blah blah, and they have a breakdown of married biological parents, other married parents, unmarried parents, single parents with partner, single parent, no partner, neither parent. And you'll notice if you look at the thing that they don't mention the gender. They don't mention the numbers. Am I supposed to believe that this is accidental? Is it possible that I can find a document, which is very well known, by the way, that the Washington Post can't? Or are they willfully doing this? Leave your own comments in the comments section and tell me what you think. But the rest of the article just goes on, and okay, well, I'll do a bit of it. Start with the threat that girls face from men. Well, how about facing up to the fact that most child abuse against girls is committed by women? And it blabbers on, and oh, here we go. What's more, girls and boys, well, thank you very much, Washington Post, for mentioning boys, are significantly more likely to be abused when they are living in a cohabiting household with an unrelated adult, usually their mother's boyfriend. And they quoted another report up there, which I'm not even going to waste my time going into it, because I don't need to. I'm perfectly happy to rely on the figures that I quoted you before, but I'll quote the Washington Post again for emphasis. Girls and boys are significantly more likely to be abused when they are living in a cohabiting household with an unrelated adult, usually their mother's boyfriend. So, back to page 46 of the Child Maltreatment 2014 document from the Department of Health and Human Services. And now I'll give you a full breakdown of the parents. Father, as I said, 20.5%. Father and non-parents, 1.1%. Mother, 40.7%. Mother and non-parents, 6.9%. Mother and father, 21.3%. Mother, father and non-parent, 1%. Now, does that sound to you like the most at risk category is children living in a relationship where the mother, presumably having split up with the father, or he's walked out, or she's divorced him, that the boyfriend of the mother is most likely to be the abuser? Make your own mind up. Anyway, I'll stick the links below. I said the word stink, and that's a Freudian slip clearly, because I think that Elle magazine, the Huffington Post, which has also reported this, along with Cosmopolitan, I think they stink. I've always thought that the Washington Post stinks. But anyway, thank you very much if you got this far. This is so important to bust the myths that the media tell by omission about this incredibly important subject, because as I've said countless times, this affects the divorce system.